Hey, Jesus Christ. I don't blow. Hey, God. I don't blow, man. Before we even start, one thing this thing is making me realize is I have gift of men and women. Hey, God.
I'm the one that has blown.
Oh, my God.
In fact, I've exploded.
Do you people know this person that is here right now at this very moment? So, we have a custom,
Okay.
And I think I'm going to have to change the custom because, like I always say, who don't know you? You are like water.
No,
you are like water.
No.
But the custom is you would have to introduce yourself. No, but people will be like, man, that's disrespectful. We know her. So please introduce yourself.
Okay, all right. So my name is EmmaOMG, and I am delighted to be here. I'm a broadcaster. I am an anchor on Arise News channel, the best news channel in Nigeria and Africa, and arguably the world.
On heaven and on earth.
And on the most popular and loved breakfast show, the morning show, for anchoring with some amazing gentlemen. So and I host events as well, communication professional as well, a number of things up my sleeves. That's me in a nutshell.
That's a modest way to introduce yourself, as in like she said, she's an MC, like one of the best MCs. I'm not even going to say one of the best female MCs, one of the best MCs in Nigeria, in Africa. She works on TV, like she said. She has worked on radio. Do you understand? She has experience of working in radio. She is a spiritual, quote unquote, mother. If you know the platform that God has used that to birth, but we'll get there, And this is a very interesting episode for me because, like I said before we started, if we put it in parables, this is like trying to make Jesus human, to show people the human sides of Jesus. So, so in this place, in this case, it's like she's representing Jesus because, we see a lot of people that are winning and, are doing well and everything. And it just feels like that's all there is to it because this phase that we see is when they start to win, but we don't know the process that came in place, and that is why you are here. And so what this whole platform is about, is we talk basically about relationships and marriage. So being a single life relationship and marriage, to let people know that there's a positive side to it, and it's not all this negativity we hear everywhere, So let's start from the scratch. I've known you for a while. Yeah, actually. From TV days and everything, and I've always known you to be very, very beautiful, very amazing, and you've gotten better, But my point of making mentioning this beautiful is, because back then, production guys, we worked in production, I and my other two colleagues. So like the bad boys, I was a good boy, but you understand.
I think they're not even that seed of goodness.
So our eyes were everywhere. We knew when everybody came, and you were one of the hot chicks that came to the office. But to me, one thing just stuck out about you, like you were quote unquote an irregular hot chick in the sense that the main thing about hot chicks is they are always there, and everything. But it was like you were focused. So apologies, I'm not saying hot chicks are not focused, but you understand where I'm getting from. But do you understand? Like you've always been focused. It's always as if you knew, you like saw where you were going or whatever, because at least everybody had this point in their lives where, okay, you were just playful or whatever. But I never saw that in you. I just always saw you that way. So. Don't let me make any assumptions. Let me just first start from the scratch. At what age did you have your first relationship ever?
The pressure. As in, Emma, how can my man are like, oh my goodness, what kind of problem is this one? But thank you so much. You've always been very kind with your words. Every time I have an opportunity to speak to you, I feel like I'm walking on sunshine. You're very affirming, and I really, really appreciate that. I've never said that to you.
You make it easy, Sha, because it's the truth we're saying.
You're always like, if I was the one who coined Golden Girl for me, and I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. So in terms of heartbreak, the story.
Yeah. So no. Let's start from your first ever relationship.
You see why relationship is synonymous to heartbreak? I mean,
because that was where your mind went to.
I was already like, thank God for my husband. But okay, so my first relationship, official or unofficial, hey, my mother is going to be watching this video.
So which came first?
Okay, so let me say an official one. The ones that we don't consider as anything. I think it was when I was in secondary school. And interesting, I think it's important to say this story because it also helped me to understand young girls. And sometimes the need to want to do something due to peer pressure. And just so that you're not seen as the odd one out. You're not... I was a Christian from a very young age. I became a Christian at the age of 9 and gave my life to Christ at 13.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I was on fire, like, really did.
You are still on fire.
I'm saying, like, so it wasn't as if I've always been quite active in church. So, I remember then what we were taught in teenage church, and shout out to teenage teachers, you're doing a good job. Don't think we're not listening. We're listening. Mm-hmm. When you're dating is for marriage, there's nothing like dating for fun.
Mm-hmm.
So my thought had been that the first person I would date would be the first person I'd get married to. So I wasn't playing around. I was going to be purposeful, and I wanted to get married early. My mom had her first child about 22, 23.
Wow.
And I thought that was really cool. So my mom was the cool mom. When she came to pick us in school, she'd wear leggings and top. And all my classmates would be like, who is that woman? I would be very proud. And my mom is yellow and beautiful. So I thought, I'd like that as well. Go to school to pick my children up, looking young, wearing shorts. I didn't want to be a pastor because I was like, I want to wear shorts. I was able to wear things, Anyways, I digress. So anyways, back to the story. In secondary school, whilst others were having boyfriends, I wasn't interested because I hadn't found the one that I wanted to marry. But they started calling me lesbian in school. Yes, wow. They saying, in fact, they would say they were teasing. They're like, Ayo, why can't you? Like everybody, like this is the age where by SS2, SS3, and I was about 15, 16 when girls, it was very innocent, mind. Well, a few things here and there, but it was just like, why, and there were guys who were on my case, who wanted like seniors who
understandably.
Meet my classmates that just hooked me up with that girl, and I was like, I'm not interested. And I think with the head boy at some point, and you know how it was to have that kind of attention. And I kept saying no, and they assured me, what is wrong with you? You're this, you're that. After a while, one dude, a guy, let me not call him, he's a nice guy, was like, I like you. I said, okay, you know what, let me just say yes, so that I can say that I have a boyfriend. And I said yes to him, and I think after 1 month, I said I'm not doing it again because I don't understand. But I say that story to say that I didn't do it because I was interested. I did it because I wanted to just silence the voices and be like a normal teenager. And with that, I understand young girls when there's a need. I don't judge when there's a need to impress or want to be. You can be a very balanced, secure human being, but after a while, the pressure gets to you. So there has to be a counter voice telling you that it's okay. I wish I had people, even though, people say that to me that you're okay. And I had examples, especially, not just adults. That's why I'm very passionate about mentoring young girls, being able to speak to them and say that, don't worry, you're not weird. What you're doing is actually going to pay in the end. So I think, that's my unofficial one. I don't count. We laugh about it. I know him, till today. Wow. And we laugh about it. Well,
to cut you, talking about you mentoring young girls, I believe that, God is even already doing that with you, even at points that you don't even know. There's a young girl I'm going to bring. I don't think she should be that young anymore, but I just see a reflection of you a lot in her. When I mention her name to you, you'll be so proud.
Yes, that's my girl. I was chatting with her just before.
Do you understand? Like, I was going to bring her here because I just saw and these are people that really look up to you, and it's important what you just said, that you might just be shining a light to somebody somewhere that is about to maybe give in, and they just say that this person just held it so far. So continue.
Yeah. So that was the first one.
That was unofficial.
That was unofficial. That was secondary school. One more. In fact, I said the first day, just as a joke. If he's coming this direction, I'll go the other direction. This is best I was meant to be. It was too hilarious. Anyways, going fast forward, university was my first proper relationship. One nice Igbo boy, and I really, how did we meet? I think, we're talking. He was in secondary school with my younger sister. And so we started talking, and I love cerebral men, people who, because I come from a lineage of very intelligent people. Let me just say
cutting you short, even I think that one time that we worked, maybe once or twice that we've MC together, I'm just like, this girl, they bring book. It feels like they read before you go MC. Do you understand? They jack preparing for jam. So I understand.
Gosh, intelligence is such a. I'm probably they call something sapiosexual. Yeah. I'm very attracted to intelligent people, and I liked it. He was very intelligent, so we got talking, and we had conversations, and then that's how it was very innocent as well, but we were mature. And I thought, I was going to marry this one because it was going to be one of those stories, meeting in university and then moving on to getting married. But most of my relationships have been quite short. I think that's why it's easy for me to remain friends. I'm friends with all my exes, I think. Like, people I've dated, I'm friends with them. So that was my first proper relationship. It was nice while it lasted. It was, very above board to a very large extent. And he wasn't. Anyways, let me just end there. I'll wait for the other questions. Yeah.
Okay. Above board, what does that mean? What did you mean?
So usually when I would go into a relationship, it would be no sex relationship. We would very just have boundaries. And I was a Christian, he wasn't. But I didn't think it was going to be a big deal. I thought at least he knew God, he wasn't an atheist. So, but I think I didn't quite put into consideration, and I was quite naive, because at that point he was a young boy who didn't have anything holding him back. And so he was like, sister, we cannot do this for a long time. And so that was actually, I believe, was a big contribution. I think we spoke about it too. He didn't want to admit it, of course, and to sound very shallow, like, man, I can't do this. But it was part of the factor in one of the factors.
Yeah. So before we even proceed, so from that experience, if you were to give your 2 cents about somebody that is a Christian girl that is going into a relationship with this guy that is really amazing, but is not a Christian, like, what would that be like?
My sister, unfortunately, probably would end in breakfast. And let me because this is a timeless video, breakfast might not be raining in 5-10 years. It probably would end in heartbreak or disappointment, because your values don't align. That's the truth. And no matter how much the feelings, we had very strong feelings for each other, I believe. I mean, it was like, first we were crying on the day we broke up with this and all that. But the fact that we couldn't agree on that, and for me, as mundane as it was, for him it was important, and it was valid for him, because he didn't understand what I understood. He didn't have the same belief that I had, so I couldn't even really blame him for it. Was that he just didn't have understanding the way I had it. So it would have always been a challenge in the relationship, and he couldn't understand why. There was a bigger thing holding me or restraining me. I was accountable, which he wasn't. And so until he got to that point, he wouldn't have really appreciated why he had to withhold, why he had to abstain, why he had to not, be with someone that he really loved. So yes, in the beginning, you might be able to find a way around it. But if your values don't align, and it's not just in the area of sex, in many things, if your values don't align, it would be a very difficult relationship to manage. You just said that you guys have conflict. You won't know the underlying, issues there. We'll just be having conflicts, things that were smooth before. And many people who are listening would be able to identify it if you're being honest with yourself. Yeah. If you don't align, if your values don't align, even if you're with a business partner, if you don't believe in the same things, it cannot last. You would have conflict along the way. So just to say that, as much as it is pleasant now, think of the future. Think of the long term. Don't jeopardize your long-term goals or your future for a moment of your emotions and feelings. Another thing is that there are many men. There are many fishes in the ocean, as there are many women. I know we don't like to say that because this is your one big love. I thought it was my one big love. You know how your first love, I'm sure you remember your first love. Like, you think that I must marry this guy. Like, I must marry this girl. This is the person I gave my heart to the first time. And then you realize that actually it gets better. You meet someone who you connect with on a deeper level later on. You meet someone whom it may not be exactly the same way, but there are certain qualities that you really like. So the heartbreak wasn't worth it. Yeah, it wasn't worth it.
And what I would add to that with what I believe God has made my understanding of love to be with my experience over the years is, when you ask people what is love, you don't really get the real definition, because a lot of people have different definitions of love based on their experiences. But I believe God has made me understand that it's as simple as we put it, that God is love. And I would explain to you, I got to it's been recent. I used to tell my wife too that, man, I believe that, when you say the way you feel about somebody, like you when you want to hug them, you want to squeeze them. And so I got to the end of that and I realized that I need to actually be thanking God for this thing, because this is actually a gift from God. Do you understand? Like God gave you this gift because he wants you to feel this thing, because you can't put an expression to it. And so where I'm coming with this is, if God is love, so let's even, so I'm not even going to try to preach or whatever, but as a Christian, we believe a pathway to God. Our pathway to God is Jesus Christ. Other religions do not believe that same pathway. So there's going to be a cross-aligning, And so the Jesus Christ we believe that is our pathway to God, whom we also believe that is God. And that's another conversation entirely. He has his values, the fruits of the Spirit and everything that would not align and everything, So whatever, any other thing that you think is love, outside, because all those love feeds. For instance, I promise you.
No, I totally agree with you.
Whatever I felt for my wife the first time I saw her in those cases, and are not the same, are not the things I'm feeling for her now. We've gotten to the point where we would have broken or be mended. Do you understand? And that is where the definition of that love comes in place, because it's like when you burn metals and you get to different stages and everything. So once you understand that, so far you are trying to go forward and everything, you understand, and then you know that he that is this love and has given you the gift of this love, whatever love you are finding has to align with him. Do you understand? So I don't want to get too deep.
No, you're absolutely spot on. And I'm sure that as we proceed, we would get into that. Love is so much more deeper. It's deeper than just emotions and feelings. Anyways, hopefully
we'll get there, because I even have a question. There's a manifestation that you have brought forth that in years before, if we had tried to paint your picture, we won't have been seeing that. And this is the best future that has come through. But let's still get back to relativity, where what people can relate with. So Ayo Mairo Ese, a strong woman, a woman that knows what she wants, from as far back as I've see. So another testimony I want to give about you is, so the thing about guys, especially, and me, my crop of guys, shout out Tyron, Tola,
that's studio.
So and every fine girl we come, our eye they see. And that's why I think one time when I was, making a speech on your platform, I said it that there are the vibes that you just get, the vibes of whom you can pursue or whom you cannot. And you were always friendly. You are very respectful. Do you understand? But it was just as if there was that mark of don't. Do you understand? Don't cross. Don't touch. If you are, do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, totally.
And you feel me? So in as much as you were not rude, and it was not like you were saying anything. Do you understand? But we could just see that difference in you, And we are going to try to get to that point. Can
I just say something, Emma? Because you've answered a question and a position I've always said to girls. It's so interesting you're saying this, because for a number of women, and I'm saying this to just put that at rest, who don't get a lot of male attention, and they're telling you, but you're a good girl, you're nice, and you're like, but the men are not coming. And I learned something later on in life, that it's actually because of what you give off. Because men actually know the ones that this one is correct. If I'm going here, I'm going correct. So you won't get as many as women who feel, let me just try my luck here. I'm saying with all due respect to everyone, and I've had to speak to some women like that what you're saying now used to be to me at that time a disadvantage. Like, why are the men, okay, even toast me. I know you're not really, because then, I didn't get married as early as I thought I would get married. It was later on, a man said something really profound. On Pastor Admet, he was talking to me and he said a prayer, which was like prayer like us, but was a prayer that the Bible says that those who know their God shall be strong and do exploits, they'll be bold. That the one who doesn't know his God will not be bold enough to step up to you to talk to you. And I found that truthfully, the men who did step up, stepped up. There were men who felt like, people like, reduce, you intimidate men. And I'm like, I'm smiling, I'm trying to be friendly, but I also knew who I was and what I wanted. So you saying this is an affirmation to those girls who feel like, I'm not getting all the men coming to me. You're precious. There's something about you that they see. It doesn't mean that you're not valuable. It doesn't mean you're not attractive, right? And even for those who they're coming to many times as well, I don't want to make it seem as if anyone, but I'm just saying that to assure those girls who don't have as many, men coming to them, it doesn't mean that you're just be yourself, be good. The one, I always say to women, you only need one man
out of the 1 million.
Out of the 1 million. So you don't need all the voices to come and step to you to validate you as a woman or as a girl. If you did that, you might not, what you see as everyone be swarming to you may not actually be positive. So thank you for sharing that, because I say that to a lot of girls. Like when I was younger, people be like, I'm sure you have so many toes. I'm like, I don't have many toes.
Man. And from the male perspective, what you say is very right. So there are two different types of attraction that we get. The attraction to want to explore. Do you understand? Which is mostly what men get most times. And the attraction for seriousness, which was, I didn't even know that was what I found in my wife till I realized, So trust me, you are getting attraction. People they are seeing you. Do you understand? But they also know that they can't mess with you. You are not giving off the mess. And this is not to say that all the ladies getting all the attention too. Because so there's a way a guy can feel like, oh, he probably can mess with you, but when he comes and he sees what you also carry, he leaves and everything. So this is not to disrespect. But what you said was, is on point. Anyways, so getting now back to my very interesting question. I don't want to still believe, because you are seeming like it's true. Have you had breakfast? If you tell me, I will say it's a lie. Have you been served breakfast before? I no go believe.
I talk to my girls, I'm very real. When I'm talking to ladies, I'm very real. I'm happy to tell you about my breakfast stories. I have
First of all, how many?
I can't count.
Jesus.
Can't count. The thing about it is that you want to do right, but you also want to be, you want to also live. Do you understand? So you meet some guys that I've met some. So the significant, and for people like me who love so for me, if I'm going into a relationship, if I like a guy, it's it. I'm not doing it based on, let's see how it works. It is, and I'm giving my 100%. I'm not doing 90% here and maybe holding back. I don't do things. I wouldn't love half measure. It is all in. I close my eyes to every other guy. I'm not listening to anybody else. So if it doesn't work out or something happens, it's very devastating. So it takes a while for me to let go. It does. But usually when I've let go, I'm not going back again. So so I like the guy I mentioned. There was another guy that showed me, hi. I think I had to go through those experiences, because there's a way you can be confident. You feel like when you see girls that are, how can this guy be messing you up like this? So don't you really? No, you be like be strong. You're just it. So I think I was humbled, so that now when I speak to girls, I'm not too quick to judge and say, how can you let a boy? Emma, should I tell you the story?
Please.
Hey, everybody's going to hear the story. There was one breakfast in particular. I've been through the whole no, it's me he likes. The other girls are just they are just playing around. So there was a guy, I really liked him, and he said, he couldn't date me because we couldn't be formal because of this my no sex rule. So later on, because I liked him, I took it that okay, I'm the real one. The others are just because he cannot hold himself, then when we get married, you now hold it. Can you imagine the folly?
Wow.
So trust me, there's no story you can tell me that will make me feel like you don't have sense. Because me, I don't have sense. Maybe I was too trusting, or maybe I just wanted to just overlook his faults. So that's how I would be talking. I was so into this guy, so into him, and he knew how to push my buttons in terms of. And all of you, stop trying to guess. You don't know who the person is. So people are trying to. Is it this person? So he would know how to come with the right words when I want to pull back and pull away, like I'm not doing this anymore. Well, and it was just someone I really, really liked. And when I wanted to do that, he would come and plead, beg, say, not beg, but I cannot do it. My friend, I really like you, this, and so it went on like that. It was almost like a shot. It was like he kept holding me back. He kept holding me back in terms of every time I wanted to step out and say, okay, this is it, we're done. it'd be like, he'd come with another angle, and he was very charming, very knew how to say the right things, and he was a genuinely good guy, to be honest. It wasn't bad. It wasn't that it was just not good for me. It was just that it was not good, just good for me. So that was one.
This is a bad guy. Somebody that is saying you stay. Bros, you are a bad boy.
No, me, I'm the foolish. I was the foolish girl. No, I have to. No, I cannot put the blame on him, because me, I was foolish. No. Please, if you're in that kind of situation,
man,
please, just extricate your life and yourself from that kind of situation. So I'm just trying to say that we do foolish things. Even no matter how smart you are. I used to be that girl like, no guy can take me for granted. Me, I'm too sharp. And then this guy just really finished and shredded.
And before you continue, those are the kind of things, because you hear in marriages when women say, so far they cheat, if you don't know about that, if they respect you, those are the kind you probably could have.
I would never have taken it in marriage, but I thought, since we're just dating, and we're not even dating, like he even gave us, so he respect. In fact, I felt like he honored and respected me by not dating me formally, so that it would not be officially called cheating, but he was holding me. See the excuses. I'm saying this because there's someone who is watching, who is giving nonsense excuses for the situation they are in currently. You're in a relationship with a guy and it is nonsense, or you're in a relationship with a guy, with a girl, and it is absolute nonsense, and you're excusing these things even when it is obvious that it is not good enough for you. This is your red flag to walk away. This is you don't worry, you won't die. You'll be okay. And he or she is not your last bus stop. You will find somebody else that is excellent in every way for you. And then my last relationship before my husband was another.
So before you say that one, let me add a little thing to what you just said. Also coming from the guy's perspective, if a guy really wants you, whatever your condition is, he will go for what the condition is. I'm going to bring one of my former backup artists, singers, to share her story and her husband's story. Basically, almost everybody around this guy, his friends were trying to, but it was like, I want this girl. And it's the same with my stories. I changed a lot of, I was Vision 2022, 2023 to get married. Do you understand? But it's just like, I want this person now. So even if all your life, if I was very, very sexually active when I was, and I'm sticking to one woman now. Do you understand? So if it's although the Lord helps you, we are not relying on ourselves, but basically, if a guy wants you and this is the condition to have you, men, one thing about men that we can brag about is we know what we want and we do whatever. If you want to buy a particular car, you will save money to buy that car. So if a guy wants you, he will, all those things are excuses. Say, oh, okay, wait, just give me time. You just stay.
Wait.
He don't want you. So continue.
Thank you for dropping that. That's so important. And I'm saying that I'm almost convinced that there's somebody that is watching this thing that will go and do the right thing. And I just pray for grace for you, because it takes a lot of, it's difficult. It can be difficult. Then just before, I talk about this one because he was a guy that was Christian, thought this was the one, had qualities that I liked. I thought, oh God, this is, if ever you answered prayers, this is an answer to prayers. But it didn't work out, and I remember that it took a while for me to get over it. Again, like I said, because I don't get into relationships very often, or I'm happy to be on my own until I find the person that I feel that. Remember, I was dating for marriage. I wasn't dating all these people I felt like I could marry them, and it just didn't work out, and I mourned that relationship for so long. As in, I'm just like, again, I feel like there's a lesson in everything, to be honest. I mourned, I almost built, I built an idol of the person and the relation. Yes, like I just felt like it was the ideal of all my dreams and aspirations, and I underestimated God, so that I felt like I couldn't do better. He ticked all the boxes. So where would I find someone like this again? And so I stayed there. And I speak to a lot of women, and I know many girls who are doing the same thing. Sorry, I keep saying women. I interact with women a lot. And I hear them and I'm like, trust me, the way you're feeling that this guy is everything. God always does better. With all due respect to all the guys, it just means they're not your own personal best.
Yesterday God save you. This was yesterday's story too. You knew that you keep crying. I did the window. I'm knocking the door.
Let the one go so that let him go so the one can come. You are blocking destiny. Do you understand? I met my husband a few months after I finally let him go, like from my heart, from without any, just I met my husband.
Meanwhile, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like these testimonies, I call them testimonies of your heartbreak, also kind of removed some skills of your height, in the sense that I've always admired your husband, but I now saw a new level to your husband when you got married to him, because your husband is a very reserved person, so you will not know a lot about him till you get close to him. Yeah. So I feel like naturally he wouldn't have been your own idea of the person you would have gotten attracted to going by your rules.
Yes. Do you know that it was after I got married, I started to see even more that I couldn't have packaged him for me enough. Do you understand? God knows you too much. There are some things. I always say that you are the best. I cannot marry anybody else. Do you understand? You're the perfect fit for me by the grace of God. You're just what I wouldn't have seen, but what life had taught me to now take away my idols and take away those things I felt like was what is excellent for me. I'm sometimes looking like, so you see how in a good marriage like this, because we used to have fears of what if I don't marry well? What if my marriage, because you see all these bad examples and you're like, what if my marriage after 2 years, 3 years, you just start living with a stranger? Thank God it gets better as the years go by. It's gotten better, and I'm grateful to God.
So I want to drop based on our husband, based on what I said is, all of us say it. I'm also somebody that always says like, focus on physicals and everything. But her husband is a real life story of it's not that it looks bad or anything, but there are some people that they just have so many treasures inside that you will never find out if you don't give it a chance or something. And it is only God that can open your eyes. So it's basically saying something like, what we have been looking for has just been here. There are some crazy things like that until God opens your eyes, you will not react. So because myself, I see, for example, when I hear him talk in your group, when I even, there are some things he has brought out. Even I say just reserve him for his wife. Say when he married, you get. So you're like,
it for
do you understand? So so most times, if you go based on that ideal picture that you've built for yourself based on this kind, 6 packs and everything, you might miss it, so I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you. Right, so true. Like I share this to my my girls, like this, you feel like that this is how I want it, this is what I want. After a while, your desire, my desire becomes for this man. The way everything, he's just excellent. Like I don't see. Anyways, I told you I'm 100% all in. If I'm in totally, completely. By
and the way your lives have blossomed too, because that's another sign that you got it right. Yeah, it happened to me too. That's another sign that you got it right. Yeah. So first of all, if those of you going through heartbreak, you are not a sinner. Yeah, nothing wrong with you. Nothing wrong with you. Another thing before we now cross over to married talks and everything, the one thing I know he added to you definitely that you probably maybe did not know is he made you know what you wanted. Yeah. Because for instance, remember that case when I tried to matchmake you?
Yes. Emma tried to matchmake me.
I did, and you gave it a chance and everything. Yeah. But from the onset, you just knew, you know.
Yeah.
And if you had not gone through those things, maybe you would have also tried to let's stay here and everything, So heartbreak is not necessarily a bad news, a bad sign. The bad sign is if you go through a heartbreak and you don't learn your lesson.
Yes.
So for every heartbreak, there's something you need to bring out of it that makes you the better person and
Absolutely.
all that. So yeah, so before we now cross over, so what is that thing about you? Because you just, no matter the mistakes you made, you just had these values aligned in you that everybody could always tell. Everybody could always talk about, even the bad boys could. So where did you get these values from? How did what led to what?
Okay, so number one, I don't want to sound cliche or spiritual, but I'm not even afraid of sounding like that. If you think I do, well, too bad. It's the truth. The essence of me and the way I see myself is hinged on my relationship with God. So my identity, we were pumped, and I'm grateful. I am, like, I can't say it I won't say every time I see my teachers, Sunday school teachers, children's church and teenage church, I always honor them. They poured into us. I feel like God handpicked the churches that we grew up in. I don't think they were not ordinary. So shout out to Chapel of Praise, all my, Redeemed Christian Church of God, Chapel of Praise, and all the teachers. They were handpicked by God. And I just want to say to teachers who teach young people, honestly, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing. Do it well. You're forming and shaping destinies. You don't know. It helped me. It gave my sense of identity comes from who I know that I am in God. And so I always felt like my life, God had a purpose for my life. So I lived, people say I walk with a purpose. My life is in that way. And then added to that, and very important, was my mother. I always say this everywhere. I think she's a very unique woman. I often say that God really gave her, people to train. She raised us. My mom wouldn't make us feel we're not in. My mom is a strong woman, and my mom is very intelligent. She excelled at everything she did. Put my mom in any project or any team, they would always. I remember going to her office one day, and her boss told me that you have a very intelligent mom. I was so proud. So we literally had a role model. She's the first of 9 children. She raised her. She helped raise most of her siblings. She's an Amazon. Wow. So she didn't allow us to cower. She told us who we were. My mom, from when I was a young girl, before I knew anything I was going to be, sent me an email with some great women and said, look at all these women. Who do you want to be in life? I'll never forget that email. Like, she was very purposeful and intentional about the kind of children she raised, what to say, how to respect people, how to be kind. Our house was always full. Like we were deprived of some things growing up because my mom was looking after many people and was okay. So that's actually, I learned how to open my arms and my home to people because of that. We never lived by ourselves, and how to treat people irrespective of who they were, how to be respectful, how to be kind. We didn't get privileges because we were my mom's mom. My mom was a boss, but she didn't raise up to have that. We were just okay. So we could abase and abound. If we was anywhere, we're okay. She didn't make us have that sense of pride. I respect her deeply for that. She's an excellent woman. And so being raised by that, my dad wasn't very much in the picture. He was when we were much younger, but after a while, my mom raised us majorly by herself. And that training, that being raised, I look forward to being a mother because of my mom, because I want to replicate what she did. I thought she was just a fantastic human being and fantastic woman and mother. So that really helped me. I worked with purpose. She was quick to tell us who we were. The church helped to, my identity in Christ made me know that, number one, I wasn't ordinary. Number two, the things we heard, all the summer schools, they didn't go to waste. All those summer schools, all those Sunday school teachings, they didn't go to waste. The best place to find your identity is just to let you know how God thinks, that God has a plan for you. Like, you can never be ordinary, you can never be. So imagine growing up with that. It's like paying a life coach from when I was 9. So I've been hearing that all through my life. And that's why for me, a lot of the things I do is to pay it forward. Like, I enjoy this growing up. I want you to see yourself the way God sees you, that you're precious. I used to say don't let a man mistreat you or manhandle you, because you're so precious to God. You're a queen. You are a treasure. So you should be, anyone should be with you and should be proud that they're with you. Those are the kind of words that I heard growing up. And I think that shaped my mindset. I'll never forget about compromise. We learned about not compromising, holding on to your values from children's church, teenage church, the story of Daniel, how he proposed in his heart not to eat the king's meat. We heard the stories of Esther, growing up. These were the stories that shaped me growing up. So I just want to say to parents who are raising their children, you're not making a mistake. The investment and intentionality, please don't neglect it. It may not look fashionable. You may not see the results immediately, but you're making it. Nobody can take it away from me. Those things I heard when I was growing up, no one can take it away from me. So those things, please do it. Tell your girls and your boys who they are. Let them hear it consistently. those stories that people who didn't compromise. Joseph, the story of Joseph and Potiphar's wife, you heard it so many times growing up. Do you understand? It would ring in your head, in your mind. There were times I was tempted to, when with guys that I wanted to, okay, if this sex thing was, but I remember that, man, when I wake up in the morning, how am I going to pray? I'll be so ashamed because this is what I'd heard all through my life. Then number two, because I had such a good relationship with my mom, there's no way I should have not known, because we used to talk about it, I'm not, then one day I'll just be keeping quiet. I cannot lie. She will just know. I couldn't disappoint those two principal people in my life. Number one, God, and number two, my mom.
Yeah. And it makes so much sense, because when you started by talking about the teachers in school, like, it made sense to me in the church and all that. And one thing that rang in my mind, which you now answered, which I would answer, is the fact that, sometimes these teachers are doing well, but the students are not just listening, but you now answered it. So the basic foundation is the intentionality of the parents. That thing Jesus said about the farmer that threw, seeds, and some fell on ground that they did not germinate. For you to create, for you to make your child's heart a ground that good things will germinate on, it's based on the bed of soil you create.
Oh yes.
On that heart, So because of what your mom had built with you, every other thing you had that were good, you let them shape you, and it's been amazing. By the way, one of the things I was keeping, one of the main introductions about I was keeping till this point was the fact that you guys, especially on this channel, because this is our couples channel, I just started this podcast, but me and my wife here, most times, even on our own channel, my wife talks about this group she joined that totally changed her life, her prayer life, and a lot of people from here has also joined, the PWC.
As if you are one of our biggest ambassadors.
PWC, Praying Women's Circle, by the grace of God, she's the convener of that group, And one thing, when you were saying this thing, one thing that came to my mind also to tell you is the fact that no wonder you keep growing, and you keep having your coast keeps getting enlarged, because the way God operates is the fact that once He gives you one, you handle it well. He gives you another one, and I don't know how you do it. This woman, there was a day I know that she had a meeting the night before. They hosted me on that meeting on their Zoom. The night before, then early morning they always have prayer. Is it 4 to 5 or 5 to 6? She had the prayer. Then she was on radio that morning. Then she had an event. Do you understand? And in the midst of this thing, now I'm getting to the marriage aspect, because you are basically every single definition of a career woman, even beyond a career woman that has her own business, that has her own organization, that has people on that. 1 million reasons for you to not even have time for any other person, but you've still managed to keep a good home, because you need to see the way her husband talks about her, and beyond the talking, because he gets as man with just one line to avoid, but you would know, you need to see how the husband feels about her, and to let you know that you are playing this wife role very, very well. And these are things that a lot of people talk about, that they are conflicting, that okay, you can't win in your career. If you want to be a good wife, you have to bow, you have to let a lot of your dreams go. So what do you have to say about that, and how have you been able to manage that?
I'm trying. I did not say that. Let my husband come and testify. But I think I have to obviously give kudos to the kind of man that I married. It's not easy. He's also had to make some compromises, and he's such a solid man. That's why I said that he's the only one I can marry. He's such a great man. He always says he's my biggest cheerleader. I agree, but my mom too is very my husband is actually, he puts my interests usually above his, beyond his. I look at him and I'm like, I don't think people know how good of a man you are, how great of a man you are. Like, you are really a solid human being. So I think that has helped a lot. I probably would not thrive this much if I were married to someone who was very particular about certain things, because I'm not all that. I mean, there's some areas where I'm struggling in terms of the home, but he compliments me. But also, I also understand the hierarchy had always been God, my husband, family, before work. So and even before church, not before my relationship with God, but before church, before work. So if anyone is going to clash, I would choose my husband. So I think that works. And just being diligent, we were raised to be diligent, to be hardworking. I'm not afraid of hard work. I think nowadays I just want to be a baby girl and just make money and just rest. I'm not, this. I look back and I'm thinking, how did I do those things? And I say,
so hard,
I'm like, man, okay, God, when I this due, let it. So when I'm doing some things and people are like, oh, come and do this, and I've been there, done that. I'm not doing it again. I'm not giving like maybe church activities. I'm like, if you know what I've done before, please let me rest. Let me rest. Let God just help us all. But yes, I think so that helps. Keeping in mind that at the end of the day, work is work. Home is priority. There's nothing almost as beautiful as after working a hard day, a long day's work, I'm driving into my home. As in the joy. So it's one of the best parts of a hard day of work. Just being able to go home to meet my husband and we have a good friendship. We're able to share, but we talk, we criticize each other as well, and constructive criticism, and we listen to each other as well. I think that has really helped. Again, sound advice. Please never downplay surrounding yourself with people who will tell you the truth. So if you're not doing what is good, don't surround yourself with people who cannot tell you that, no, you should do better. Me and my friends, we check ourselves regularly. This thing you're doing, so it's very, very important. Yeah. So I think, yeah.
And I'm a witness to, what you said about your husband, the way you carry your matter for him. Before you call him once, you don't answer. Yeah. And I like something you always also do intentionally, because whenever it comes to your stuff, when you call him, even with his work to come, he always comes through. But you also make sure you put that respect to make sure that we are not bastardizing this. Do you understand? I like that. And I also want to say that it's both ways. You say, now so you carry him.
Man.
Like that is live program he always does. That is every month. The way they put the thing for the, so I love to see it.
Yeah.
God bless your marriage more and more. Amen. How long have you been married for now?
So we're going to be married 6 years.
Hey, Jesus.
In November. Even we have become ancestors in marriage.
Is an achievement in these times. It's a milestone achievement. So before we get to how did you get here, what your advice and everything, I want to ask you some key point questions on things that are causing controversies in marriage now. And obviously, you guys have a formula, and you are kind of getting it right for you to have come here. 6 years. First main one is this talk about submission to your husband. This, that, women submit, what is your interpretation of that? How is that playing? How are you applying that to yourself, and what do you have to say about that?
Chai! We have to stop here today. I'm no vex. Please don't be angry. But don't worry, you can catch the concluding part next week. Say, oh my God.